What is our Easter mantra?
He is risen.
He's risen indeed. Now we said that we did this baptism yesterday. We were up in Portland with our kids, and they got baptized, our grandkids. So May and Petra and Malcolm and Pax all got baptized yesterday. So that was a great deal. And they got baptized in an Orthodox church, and it was this big, complicated, it's sort of cool ceremony. You know, for me, the most complicated part of this is picking up the shell and pouring water on somebody's head. In an Orthodox church, they have a big baptismal font, and you get in it, and then they pour oil all over you, and you're soaking wet. It's a big mess, but it's a really cool ceremony. They were really neat. But they said he is risen, but they didn't say it that way. They said it. Remember, Mary, how they said it? He is risen.
Yeah, he is.
They said something anyway. It was cool. It was great to be part of another Christian community where they're celebrating the same things we are. But we are in that season where where he died, where he rose again, and where he is making the point that, no, I'm not one of those guys who claim to be Messiah, who just got crucified and it was all over. I've already come back. And so he's come back in this story today, and he's come back to his people who have been following him, and he's come back to prepare them to carry on the work when he finally leaves. And so that's what we see today with these guys that are on the beach. These guys follow Jesus, but they have jobs, they have lives, and they have stomachs and families to feed. And so they are fishermen, and they have gone back to work to be fishermen. And they spent the night doing that. It's been a long night on the rocking boat with the dim lantern in the bow trying to attract the fish. They tossed their nets to catch those fish. And now morning is breaking. The light is getting brighter. And there's some hustle on the beach. And there's an air of discouragement because it was a poor catch. It was a very depressing night. They didn't really catch anything. And so the nets are balled up in the middle of the boat, wet, smelling of salt. And the guys in the boat look up and they hear a voice from shore. Hey, have you got any fish? And we don't see what's written that they probably said underneath their breath. They just evidently said, no! And the guy on the beach says, well, then cast your nets out to the right side of the boat and you'll catch some fish. And I'm sure they said, everybody's an expert. Thank you. What the heck? So they stand up and they grab hold of the nets and they cast them like large pancakes that flop on the surface of the water with a crack, and they begin to sink down below the brown water. Just like every other time they did it. And they grab hold of the rough ropes, but this time the ropes are stuck. And as they pull on them, they realize they're bumping around and they're caught on something. They're caught on something that's moving. And soon they're pulling them in, and the calm, flat water becomes a boiling mess of piles of fish whose tails are flapping on the surface. And this calm morning turns into chaos when they realize there is a ton of fish caught in their net. In fact, the nets are almost breaking. They probably should break. And we see them pull them into the boat, and they've got a huge number of fish. They've got 153 of them. 153, and now that's a pretty specific number. That's a pretty specific reference. What the heck is the author trying to tell us by giving us that number? Is there a symbolic reason for that? Is there a message here? Why are we seeing 153 specifically noted? He could have just said many fish. Well, the early writer Jerome in the year 380 suggested that 153 was the number of total different species of fish that had been identified. And so this 153 fish represented all of mankind. Those who count see that in the book of Genesis, the name Yahweh, God's name, is mentioned 153 times. In the book of Matthew, Jesus blesses people 48 times, but the total number of people blessed is 153. If you take 153, the numbers that add up to it, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus all the way up to 17 is 153. If you take the lowest numbers that can be cubed, actually I never understood this one, but the numbers that are part of a chord are 1, 3, and 5. So if you have a 1, 5, 3 chord, that is a musical notation. We hear that all the time. There are some very interesting things that can be done with this number, this seemingly random number, 153. What is that? What is God trying to tell? Is there some symbolism in here that we should pay attention to? No. No, I'd say they're not. I think this is probably God saying, with this sense of humor, you guys look at the wrong things for the wrong reasons. And he's got us all tied up because the amount of ink and the amount of pages and the amount of sermons and theological treatises that have been built on this 153 are all over the place. And you know what? There's no rhyme and reason to them. There's no purpose to them. But you know what they do tell us? They do show us how we can get really wound up looking at the unimportant. We can get really wound up majoring in the minors. And 153 is a minor. We can spend a lot of time beating each other up over whether Mary actually had more children after Jesus, or whether Joseph's children were from a previous marriage and was Mary perpetually a virgin. We can spend years on that, which the church has. We can debate which traditions in churches really are important. We can talk about what type of music is really appropriate to worship. We can talk about the best translation of the Bible, King James or NIV or the Message. We can debate important issues like how many angels really can dance on the head of a pin. Important theological questions. Well, some of those questions are important. Maybe not the angels dancing one, but some of those really are important questions, and we ought to have answers for them. But it's sometimes easy to begin to focus on our faith as something we understand and study, and miss the fact that our faith is about a relationship. About a relationship of Jesus calling to us, coming to us, so that he can bless ordinary people like us in ordinary circumstances. So he can bless us in our work, as we're cooking dinner, as we're fixing something in the garage, as we're fishing on the beach with our friends. Jesus comes not to teach us all the right positions and all the details and all the correct procedures. He comes because he misses us. He values time with us. He wants to work with us because he has plans and purposes for each of us. And he wants to make certain that we get that they are important and we can do them. He wants us to major in the majors. Now, when we look at our scripture today, we can get wound up in a lot of different questions that are really confusing. That Revelation stuff, that can just be overwhelming. The story about Saul riding his horse to Damascus, that's kind of a weird God story, isn't it? I mean, haven't any of you? Haven't anybody you know? Haven't anybody you know? It's not in a mental institution? I mean, there's weird God stuff out there that we can spend all day working on that. We can spend all day looking at details like, what does this 150 mean? What does it mean when you take numbers and every 12th number, the letter you turn into a number and the numbers add up? I mean, there's all kinds of weird stuff they can do to analyze the Bible. And you know what? That's all interesting, maybe, but it's majoring in the minors. We need to major the majors. God comes to his people. God comes to you because he wants a relationship with you. Jesus comes to you because he has plans and purposes for you in the world. And he wants to be with you as you do them. Do you understand enough about your faith? Do you understand enough about your faith to hold on to it? Do you understand enough about your faith to be affected by it? If you understand that much, maybe that's enough. Maybe all you need to know is that he just comes to you because you are valuable to him. That's major. That is important. And that's what we can count on more than 153 times. And now, when you go to that trivia game and they ask how many fish, you will know how many Jesus brought.